Okay, so get this right. There's this Reddit post, and it is wild.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like everyone's talking about it. It's about this marriage, and they try this whole open relationship thing.
Okay.
And, well, let's just say the internet has some thoughts, you know?
Yeah, those Am I the Asshole posts, those AITA things, they always get people riled up.
It's like a car crash. You don't want to look, but you can't look away.
You just gotta see how it all went wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this one, it's a doozy. So the title, are you ready for this?
Hit me.
AITA for divorcing my wife after she asked for an open relationship, and now I'm thriving while she isn't.
Oh, wow. Okay, so already there's a lot to unpack there.
Right. And the fact that it's on our AITH.
Not the OG Am I the Asshole?
Yeah, not the original sub. That tells you something right there. Like, buckle up. This is going to be a bumpy ride.
Am I the asshole for divorcing my wife after she asked for an open relationship? And now I'm thriving while she isn't? Hey Reddit, I'm in a bit of a situation, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm the bad guy here. I'll try to keep this short, but there's some context that might be important. So, my 34 male wife, 32 female, and I have been married for 7 years. We've had a pretty great life together. I've built a successful business. I do pretty well for myself. I'll leave it at that. And we've traveled all over the world, live in a beautiful house, the whole deal. I've always thought we were happy. Out of nowhere a few months ago, my wife tells me she wants to open up our marriage. Her reasoning was that we were missing out on experiences, and she wanted to explore her options. But she made it clear she still loved me and didn't want to break up. I was blindsided. We've never had issues with intimacy or connection, and honestly, I'm in great shape. I've always been attentive to her needs, and I just didn't see it coming. At first, I was against the idea, but then I figured, okay, why not see what happens? If this is what she wants, I'm not going to stop her. I agreed to give it a try, but with the condition that it goes both ways. If she's out meeting other guys, I'm going to meet other women too. Well, here's where things get a little ironic. As soon as we opened the relationship, I started meeting women left and right. I'm talking crazy success on dating apps, people I meet through work, even casual flings while I'm traveling for business. Turns out, being wealthy, fit, and confident tends to attract a lot of attention. I'll spare you the details, but let's just say I haven't exactly been lonely. My wife, on the other hand? Yeah, not so much. She's been on a few dates, but nothing's really panned out for her. A couple of the guys ghosted her, and she's mostly frustrated that it's not what she imagined. Meanwhile, I'm having a blast. After a few months of this, I started to realize that I don't need to stay in a marriage where my wife was basically looking for an excuse to cheat on me. If she wanted to be single, then let's make it official. I filed for divorce, and now she's upset and saying that I'm punishing her for wanting to explore herself. But honestly, I just don't see the point in staying married if we're both dating other people. Why play house? So now she's telling our friends that I'm being selfish and that I'm only divorcing her because she's not having as much success as I am in this open thing, which is absolutely not the case. I just think we're on different paths now, and I've realized I don't need to stick around when I can literally have my cake and eat it too. Am I the asshole for filing for divorce? Or should I have tried harder to make her feel better about a situation she basically created? Edit. To clarify, I didn't start having fun out of spite. I genuinely went into this thinking it could work, but it just opened my eyes to the fact that we want different things. Also, the divorce isn't about her failing at the open relationship. It's about me realizing I don't want this life with her anymore.
So our guy, the OP, he jumps right in.
Okay.
He's 34, married to his wife, she's 32, for 7 years.
7 years, okay.
And he's like, right off the bat, painting this picture of their life, successful business, they've got this beautiful house, they travel, all this stuff.
So he's establishing that they had it good.
Almost like he's getting ahead of something.
Interesting.
Like he's already playing defense. And then, boom, drops the bomb. His wife, out of nowhere, she wants an open marriage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Says she felt like they were missing out, experiences, but she still loves him, doesn't want to break up, just, wants to spice things up.
And he's just like, wait, what?
Claims he was blindsided, even mentions that he's in great shape, like just throwing that out there.
Oh, so already there's a little bit of that. defensiveness.
Yeah.
Like he's anticipating what people might assume.
Right. It's like he's trying to preemptively shut down any speculation.
Interesting how that need to defend himself comes out,
Awesome.
even in his initial framing of the situation.
Totally. So anyway, he agrees to try it.
The open marriage thing.
Yeah. But of course things don't go as planned, do they?
This is where it gets messy, I bet.
Oh, it's about to get real messy. Oh, it gets messy. So he's saying he's living the dream, right? Dating, having fun.
Okay.
But his wife, not so much.
So it's that classic, like, be careful what you wish for kind of scenario.
It's like he's almost, I don't know, enjoying it. Like, a little too much.
That's interesting. He does seem to emphasize that contrast, doesn't he? His success versus her struggles.
It's subtle, but it's there. Like, throughout the whole post. Almost like he's trying to, I don't know, justify something.
Yeah. You pick up on that too, huh? Almost like using her perceived lack of success to validate his own choices, in a way.
Exactly. And the internet, they pick up on that. Oh, they see it.
You know, those Reddit detectives, they always get to the bottom of things.
It's like they can smell a whiff of, I don't know, maybe some insecurity there.
Yeah, that need to overcompensate, overemphasize his own achievements. Makes you think.
It does. And you know what else they were saying? Get this.
What's that?
Some people think, and I'm not making this up, they think an AI wrote this whole thing.
Whoa, really? An AI? Like a bot?
Yeah. Like, it's so over the top, right?
That's wild. I mean, it does make you wonder about authenticity online.
Yeah.
You know, what's real anymore?
Seriously, like, are we all just living in a simulation?
The internet's a weird place, man.
Tell me about it. But they had their reasons for thinking it was an AI.
Okay, what were they saying?
They said, first of all, it's too perfect.
Too perfect? How so?
Like, the way he writes, it's almost, I don't know, too polished for a guy who's just pouring his heart out on Reddit.
Interesting. So it's like we've come to expect a certain level of like raw emotion in these online confessions. And when something feels too crafted, it raises suspicion.
Exactly. It's like, where's the drama? Where's the typos, the bad grammar, the emotional outbursts?
Right. It's like we're suspicious of a story that checks all the boxes too perfectly.
Like, it's too good to be true. So you've got people laughing at the situation. You've got others questioning the whole thing.
Yeah. Calling out the AI conspiracy. Classic Reddit.
But there were a few, you know, who tried to offer some real advice.
Oh, the voice of reason in the chaos. What were they saying?
You know, the usual stuff. Open relationships, they're risky. Communication is key.
Yeah, those are important things to remember.
No matter what kind of relationship you're in.
Absolutely.
Communication, it's like the foundation of it all, right?
Couldn't agree more.
It's kind of crazy, right? Like, this whole thing started with this one post, and it just blew up.
I know, right? It's like everyone had an opinion. It's like we were saying, right, about how people react to these stories.
Yeah, exactly. It says a lot about, I don't know, maybe our own hang-ups, our own expectations for relationships and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you see a story like this, and it's almost like it's reflecting our own biases back at us.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. Like, this whole idea that the guy is out there living his best life, dating up a storm, and his wife is, well, not.
Yeah, it pushes those buttons, doesn't it? Like, are we surprised? Are we not surprised?
Yeah.
What does that say about us?
It's like, on the one hand, good for him, right? He's going for it.
Right.
But then there's this other part, like, are we supposed to feel bad for the wife? Or is she, like, supposed to be out there killing it too? It's confusing.
I think that's what makes it so fascinating, though. These stories, they tap into these really deep-seated ideas about gender roles, about what's expected in a relationship, even if we don't always want to admit it.
It's like this unspoken script that we're all supposed to follow.
Exactly. And when someone throws the script out the window, it throws everyone off.
Right.
Suddenly, no one knows what to think.
We're so used to, you know, the guy messing around, the wife getting mad, all that.
Right.
But this is different.
And different can be unsettling. You know, it makes us question things, question the narrative.
And maybe even question ourselves a little bit, right? Like, why do we feel this way?
Exactly. So, yeah, this whole thing, this Reddit post, it's more than just some relationship drama.
Way more.
It's like a little window into our collective psyche. You know?
I like that little window into the soul of the internet.
There you go. And maybe a little glimpse into ourselves, too, which can be pretty enlightening if you think about it.
For sure. And on that note, you know, next time you're scrolling through Reddit and you come across one of those Am I the Asshole posts, take a second.
Take a beat.
Yeah, take a beat. Don't just hit that upvote or downvote button. Think about why that story grabbed your attention. What does it say about you, about us, about how we see the world and relationships? It's all connected, you know?
Food for thought.
That's what we're here for. Let's set the scene for our listeners.
Okay.
We've got a woman, let's call her Sarah, posting on Reddit's relationship advice thread because she needs some guidance after her husband, we'll call him Mark, decided to go on a solo little trip while they were on a couple's trip to Vegas.
Oh boy, this is going to be good.
Oh yeah, and he didn't just walk down the strip. Right.
No.
We're talking he went to a strip club and dropped almost $6,000 in one night.
In one night.
One night at the club.
Wow, that's dedicated.
While Sarah was asleep in their hotel room.
Oh, that's not good.
No, not a good look for Mark.
Not at all.
And it gets juicier. Not only was the spending spree on their joint account.
Oh no.
But Mark went full on spy mode.
What do you mean?
To cover his tracks. We're talking. Turned off his location, ignored calls and texts from Sarah for hours. And then when he finally reappears, lies about the whole thing.
During our vacation in Vegas, I, 28 female, woke up at 2 a.m. to find my husband, 34 male, missing, his location off, and thousands in charges from a strip club on our bank account. Where to go from here? My husband and I booked a last-minute getaway to Vegas for a couple nights. We arrived yesterday. We had tickets to see a show last night, but after a long day of drinking in the heat, I wasn't feeling well and needed to end the night early. I encouraged my husband to still go so he could enjoy his evening, so he did, and I went to sleep. 2 a.m. rolls around, and I wake up to find that he never came back to the room. The show is literally at our hotel, so I start to panic. I go to check his location. It's off. Then I text him asking where he was. He reads it and doesn't respond. I call him several times, and he sends me to voicemail. While I was trying to get a hold of him, I see there were 2 separate charges for $1,000 from a strip club. He didn't respond to me till nearly 3 a.m. and just texted he was on his way back. 30 minutes later, he stumbles in the room, absolutely obliterated. He tries to lie and say he was just gambling down the strip, that he never went to the strip club, even though the charges were literally made with Apple Pay and he hadn't lost his phone. After going through his receipts, I found he'd been at the strip club for nearly 5 hours, essentially confirming that he went straight from the show and left 40 minutes after my first "Where are you?" text. I also checked all of our accounts, and if all the charges made settle as they are, he'll have spent nearly $6,000 there. He swears he didn't cheat on me and says nothing sexual happened, though I can only imagine the situations you find yourself in after 5 hours in a strip club, especially when you're intoxicated beyond comprehension. I feel like I'll never truly know what happened, and that alone is the most painful part. We flew home a day early, and I just have no idea where to go from here. We've been together for 7 years, married for 4 years and just a couple months. As far as I was aware, we're in a great place in our marriage, and there haven't been any issues with infidelity in the past. This is completely out of character. I'm absolutely crushed and deeply disappointed. He was reckless with our money, with my trust, with our marriage, and it really fucking hurts. The fact we were on a solo trip together, and instead of coming back to me or doing literally anything else, he chose to go to a strip club. I would love any insight plus advice from those who've gone through something similar with their partners. Thank you for reading.
So this is where I'm curious, and I want our listeners to think about this too.
For sure.
Does what happens in Vegas actually apply when you're on a trip with your partner?
Right, that's the big question here.
Because Sarah was not having it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why she'd be upset.
And the court of public opinion on Reddit, they sided with her pretty quickly.
I can imagine. I mean, $6,000, that's a lot of trust to break, even without Vegas involved.
And that's just it, right? It's not even just about the money, it's the deceit, the secrecy.
Right.
And those are pretty big red flags in any relationship.
Huge red flags. And you know those digital footprints? They don't lie.
They really don't. It's like they say, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up.
Exactly.
And in this case, that cover-up just screams guilt.
And premeditation, too, which is never a good sign.
But some people did bring up a good point. Could disputing those charges give us some answers?
That's an interesting angle.
What could possibly cost $6,000 at a strip club? Like, what's on the menu there?
Right. Like, is there a VIP section with diamond-encrusted champagne flutes or something?
Seriously.
Huh.
What could he have gotten into?
Well, some people chiming in online claim to have some insider knowledge about these places.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said a bill that high, it probably went beyond the usual. You know, like maybe private rooms, top shelf, everything.
Wow, so we're talking next level extravagance.
It sounds like it.
But even then, it's still all about the secrecy, right? Why go to those lengths to hide it if it was all on the up and up?
Exactly. That's the million-dollar question. And that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating, right?
Like, the plot just keeps thickening.
Yeah, because even if he wasn't doing anything, really bad,
Right.
it still points to a major breach of trust.
Absolutely.
I mean, why go through all that effort to hide a few expensive cocktails?
Exactly. And that's where the whole idea of financial infidelity comes in.
Oh, totally.
Because it's not just about the money itself.
It's about the secrecy, the lies.
It's about that shared understanding you have as a couple.
Right. Like, you're a team, you're in this together.
And when one person goes off the grid, financially or otherwise, it rocks the foundation of the whole relationship.
Absolutely. And it can be just as devastating as any other kind of betrayal.
And you know what really struck me about this whole Reddit thread?
What's that?
How many people were urging Sarah to get tested for STDs?
Yeah, that's a whole other layer to this.
It's heavy stuff, but it's a reminder that this isn't just some abstract drama.
Right.
It has real-world implications.
It's about her health, her well-being.
Exactly. And I think it speaks to the fact that even though people love to dissect the drama online.
Why, for sure.
There's also this genuine concern for Sarah's safety and well-being.
Absolutely. It's like, we might not know her personally.
Yeah.
But there's this shared sense of wanting to protect someone who's been hurt.
It's a weird juxtaposition, right? Like, the internet can be so harsh and judgmental.
Tell me about it.
But then there are these moments of, like, unexpected empathy and support.
It's true. It's like this whole spectrum of human emotion playing out in the comment section.
And it makes you wonder how much of our reaction is shaped by our own biases.
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, do we automatically gravitate towards the most scandalous explanation?
Right, because we love a good story, don't we?
We do. Drama is captivating.
It's true, but it's also a reminder that we're only getting a tiny glimpse into their lives.
We see the $6,000 bill, the missing location data.
The lies.
But what we don't see is everything that led up to that point.
Right, the history, the dynamics, the struggles that maybe they've been dealing with.
Exactly, and those are all crucial pieces of the puzzle.
Because without that context,
right,
it's impossible to truly judge their situation.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's their relationship, their journey. We can analyze, speculate, learn from it.
For sure.
But ultimately, it's up to them to figure out what comes next.
I mean, that's what it all boils down to, right?
It is. It's about taking responsibility, communicating.
And hopefully learning and growing from the experience.
It's like we're all looking at this puzzle with a few pieces missing.
Right, and those missing pieces could change the whole picture.
Exactly. And it reminds us that relationships are messy.
Oh, tell me about it.
They're complicated, they're nuanced, and they don't always fit into these neat little boxes.
Absolutely, and that's what makes them so fascinating to unpack.
It's true. But it's also easy to jump to conclusions.
Especially when you throw in Vegas and a $6,000 strip club bill.
Right. It's like our brains go straight to the drama.
It's human nature, right? We love a good scandal.
We do. But maybe instead of asking, did he cheat?
Yeah.
The real question is, what led to this?
Ooh, that's deep.
What are the signs we miss in relationships?
Right, because there are always signs.
Always. And what about you listening?
Yeah, what about you?
Have you ever experienced something that made you question everything you thought you knew about your partner?
Because it happens, Trust can be broken in so many ways.
It can. And in this day and age, those cracks often show up online.
Oh, absolutely. Our digital lives are so intertwined with our real lives.
They really are. And this case is a perfect example of that.
Because what we do online, even if we think it's private, it has consequences.
It does. It all comes back to those boundaries, those expectations we have in relationships.
Right, and how we navigate trust and communication in a world that's constantly connected.
And that's what we always come back to, right?
Always.
Open communication, honesty, respect.
Those are the cornerstones of any healthy relationship, online or offline.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So we are taking a deep dive into a series of Reddit posts, and specifically from the Am I the A-hole subreddit, or as it's as it's often called, AITA. So for those maybe not as familiar, it's where people go to share personal dilemmas and kind of ask the internet to weigh in on who's in the wrong, who's the a-hole.
So it's basically digital crowdsourcing for ethical advice, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And in this case, we have a new mom. We'll call her OP, short for original poster, grappling with, a difficult situation.
Yeah.
And it's just to protect privacy and everything. The baby's real name is being kept anonymous. So throughout this deep dive, we'll be referring to the little one as Annabelle.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Respecting privacy is key, especially with something like this, so.
Absolutely. Good call.
Am I the ass for refusing to change my baby's name after I named her after my dad's affair partner? I, 26, female, just gave birth to my daughter Annabelle. I didn't announce it beforehand because in the past one of my family members stole a baby name and it created a lot of drama. My mom wanted to know, but I was adamant on keeping it a secret. My mom and dad was in the room when I gave birth, and when it was time for me to sign the birth certificate, my mom asked for the name. And I told her, Annabelle. Her face went pale, and my dad didn't look too happy, but he said he loved the name. My mom left a few minutes later, claiming she didn't feel well. She said she'll come over in a few days to help with the baby. Now I'm at home with the baby, and my mom hasn't talked to me that much. We used to talk every day, so I was confused by this sudden behavior. My sister Emily lives with mom still, so I called her over to talk. When she got to my house, she explained how she overheard Dad and Mom arguing, because about 10 years ago, Dad had an affair with a coworker named Annabelle. Mom hasn't been talking to him, and he's been trying to get her to talk. I guess Dad, realizing that Emily had come over, decided to come over himself. He asked if there is any way that I can change Annabelle's name. I asked him why to see if he'll tell me the truth, and he did. He admitted to the affair. He begged Mom not to leave him, and she stayed. But just hearing that name had always put her in a bad headspace. I told him I can't, and that Annabelle was the name of my husband's grandmother, who helped raise him. My dad begged and pleaded for me to change it, saying Mom was in the middle of packing her bags and heading to her sister's house. I told him I won't change her name and that it means so much to me and my husband. He began to raise his voice, and immediately my sister yelled back and told him to get the hell out. She told him not to stress me out about a mess he created. He left immediately. I'm not changing my baby's name, but I feel like this is tearing the family apart. What should I do? Small edit: Annabelle isn't her real name. Her real name only has 3 letters, so a nickname based off her name wouldn't be possible. And a lot of you suggested to change her first name to her middle name. But her middle name is my mom's name, and I don't want to change that. Update 1. So my sister went over to my aunt's house to talk to my mom about what happened. My mom then came to my house to talk. She broke down saying how sorry she is for being distant, and that it was wrong not to communicate with us about what was happening. She said while the name did shock her at first, she knew how much Annabelle meant to my husband and that she'll never do anything to discredit the work she put into raising him. I asked why she didn't tell us about the affair. She said because she knew that she was mentally too weak to leave, and the last thing she wanted was to show us it's okay to stay with a man who cheated on you. I asked if she planned on leaving Dad, and she said she doesn't know. She admitted that she never got over the affair and is mad at herself for ruining the moment her granddaughter was born. I told her is there a nickname that she wants to call her by, and she said no, and that she wants to honor the memory of Annabelle's great-grandmother. We hugged it out and talked. So I think everything is okay. Update 2. So I'm actually going to separate myself from my mom and my dad. My mom said she was going to get couples counseling as well as therapy for herself. I thought that was good. I guess my dad read somewhere that it's best to completely be honest about the situation if he wants to move on. My dad is a science teacher at a high school, so Annabelle wasn't actually a coworker but a student. He taught her as a freshman and had her in his AP class as a senior. She graduated at 17, and they added each other on Facebook, and things went from there, I guess. I asked my mom if she knew Annabelle was a student and not a coworker. She broke down and admitted that she did. I asked her, how can she be with someone like that? She didn't answer me. My sister was disgusted by him and cursed him out, calling him a child lover. She said she would never talk to him again. I agreed with her and told my mom that I can't allow my kids around her if she thought that my dad's behavior was okay. My dad said that Annabelle was an adult and that it was a mistake what happened between them. He then said it was a mistake to be open about the situation if it was only going to make things worse. My sister moved in with me, which I don't mind because the house has plenty of room. My dad and mom have been blowing up our phones, but I can't talk to either of them right now.
So here's the gist. OP named her baby Annabelle after her husband's grandmother.
Okay.
Which, lovely sentiment, honoring family.
Right, right.
However, it turns out that Annabelle is also the name of OP's father's former affair partner.
Oh, so the name has like this unintended baggage. It's loaded.
Yes, exactly. And to make matters worse, the father, upon hearing the baby's name, demands it be changed.
Oh boy.
So, understandably, causes a rift. And now OP is caught between her husband's family and, her own father's past actions. And
then to add another layer to this whole thing, OP's mother reacts to all of this by just shutting down emotionally, becoming distant.
Which leaves OP in quite the predicament. So how do you navigate honoring your husband's family while trying to mend the emotional wounds, right, in your own family? And then on top of it all, you've got all these reactions from Reddit users. Yeah, what are they saying?
But it's all over the place. So some sided with OP, saying, hey, it's your right to choose the name.
Right.
Others, though, were much more sympathetic to the mother's pain, urging OP to really consider the long-term impact on the family.
It's interesting how this brings up this whole thing of individual choice versus like the well-being of the entire family whose needs are more important here. And then how do you even begin to sort through all of those emotions?
Exactly.
It's a lot.
It's almost like this situation, it's like shining a light, right, on how families deal with these dynamics, because you can see where OP is coming from, wanting to honor her husband's side of the family.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah, you can't just erase the past either.
Exactly.
Like all these emotions are they're right there.
Yeah.
And I think this is where, if you look at it through like a family systems kind of lens, it can be really helpful because you've got this concept, right? It's called invisible loyalties. And it was something that family therapist Philip Guerin, he talked about it a lot, where it's like these unspoken expectations and obligations that people have within a family. They're not, necessarily said out loud.
Right.
But they can really influence
subconscious
how people behave.
That's so true. Yeah.
And so you start to think about, the mom in this situation and her being silent. Is this really her just accepting everything, or is there a part of her that's like
protecting,
trying to, protect everybody from more pain?
That's such an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, because it's like she's carrying the weight of everything that happened.
A burden.
It's almost like she's obligated to put on a good face.
But keep the peace.
Keep the family.
At what cost, though?
Yeah, at what cost, exactly.
Like, is that really healthy in the long run? And that's something I think for families to
think about. Even though it's really hard, it's like, how do you have these open conversations even when it's difficult?
Yeah, and speaking of communication, we get this update from OP, and her mom actually breaks her silence.
Oh, okay, so she does say something.
She does.
Okay, what's she have to say?
So she apologizes for shutting down, and she acknowledges how important the name Annabelle is to her son-in-law.
Okay.
And that she would never do anything to disrespect, his late grandmother.
It's interesting, though, right? Because on the surface, it seems like, okay, well, this is, she's trying to mend things.
Bridge the gap. Yeah.
But it makes you think, like, is it really possible to just move on without actually, talking about what happened?
Dealing with the root
cause
of the pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is it really
genuine?
us?
Yes, exactly.
Or is it just like this way to keep things,
to keep the peace?
Right. Like a temporary truce.
Yeah.
And then just when you think like, okay, maybe they're through the woods, right? The family's going to get through this.
What happens?
We get a second update, and this one throws like a whole other,
another log on the fire.
Log on the fire. Exactly.
Tell me more.
So remember how OP thought, initially, that the affair partner was a coworker?
Right.
Well, in the second update,
Yeah.
she reveals that no,
Mm-hmm.
if you're a partner, was actually a student
What?
of her father's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that changes things, right?
It changes everything.
Like now it's not just infidelity, there's a power dynamic there.
Totally, yeah.
That's a whole other...
Huge ethical questions
Absolutely.
about the father's actions.
It's like this whole other layer of like, was this even consensual?
Exactly.
We don't know all the details.
And it just completely shifts the family dynamic.
It does.
So understandably, OP's sister is like rightfully outraged, cuts off all contact with their dad.
Oh, wow.
And then OP and her sister like present this united front,
Oh.
Standing by their mother.
Wow, you can almost feel the tension through the screen. It really makes you think about the impact of keeping secrets.
Right.
Especially in a family.
Yeah, because it's like, how much did this, truth being hidden,
Right.
How did that affect their relationships, even before the baby name?
Right, exactly.
It's like the truth will out. Right.
It always does.
But how much does it cost?
Right, like what's the
Sure,
lateral damage when that happens?
What's next? Right.
Yeah.
Like, how does this family even begin to...
It's messy.
It's messy.
Yeah.
Like, start to heal.
Yeah.
You've got betrayal.
Well, you've got the dad.
You've got anger. Yeah.
Right. Like he's facing the consequences of what happened.
Totally, yeah.
And it's like, how does everybody else kind of deal with that?
And then the mom, right.
Oh, absolutely.
Having to kind of process that pain all over again.
Yeah, and probably questioning,
Yeah.
Years of her life.
Choices, yeah.
Her own choices, yeah.
And then the sisters.
Oh, and the sisters trying
to figure out their relationship
Oh,
with both parents now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like their whole family system has just been
So
completely, kind
rocked.
Rocked, yeah, turned upside down.
And then in the middle of all this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You've got this newborn baby girl.
Right, and I think that's something that, it's easy to forget about with all this drama, but it's like...
Yeah, what about Annabelle?
What about Annabelle? Right? Like, she doesn't know what's going on.
She doesn't.
But you can't help but wonder how this is all gonna,
affect her view of family and trust.
Totally, yeah.
And forgiveness, her own identity.
It's a lot.
Yeah, there's no easy answers to any of this.
Not at all.
So as we kind of, wrap up this deep dive for you listening, what are you taking away from this?
I think for me, it's just this reminder that even these decisions that seem,
personal,
yeah, like naming your baby.
Right.
They can really have a ripple effect, throughout an entire family.
Halo.
And sometimes those ripples uncover things, like stuff that maybe people thought was buried.
Yeah, and then it forces you to deal with it.
Exactly, whether you want to or not.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about, like, how important is that open communication?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Within a family.
It's key to, I think, to having those healthy relationships.
Healthy, resilient relationships. And on that note, we're going to leave you with this.
Okay.
How much weight does your own family history carry?
Right.
And how can you navigate those complexities, with grace and understanding and really try to...
Yeah, like what can we learn?
What can we learn? Yeah.
From this family's experience.
Exactly. And how can we use that, to build those healthy relationships moving forward?
Exactly.
So, food for thought.
Food for thought.